Our next guest has been working in conflict resolution in some of the places that we have all read about: Rwanda, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo. I hope you will give him your best attention. Last but not least, one of the most important challenges. They're all important, and this is a very important challenge. Chris Plutte, please welcome him. He's the co-founder of the international NGO Global Nomads Group, and before that, he directed all of Search for Common Ground's programs in Rwanda. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you.
How are you? Yeah? So my name is Chris Plutte, and I'm the co-founder of Global Nomads Group. And I believe that every young person should have a meaningful cross-cultural exchange during their education. Let me be more specific. I believe that each one of you deserves a meaningful cross-cultural exchange during your education. I believe this for two reasons. One, I think that international exchanges will prepare you for the jobs of the future, where you will be communicating and collaborating with people from different countries. I also believe that you are our best bet for world peace. I will talk to your teachers and your principals about why international exchanges prepare you for the jobs of the 21st century. I want to talk to you about why I think you are the best investment for world peace. But before I go much further, I want to give you a couple examples. Examples on how young people like yourselves have contributed to some of the most important peace building in the world. Let's talk about China. Today, we trade with China. China takes our goods, we get a lot of goods from China. We're actually in a bit of a competition with each other. 40 years ago, we did not talk to China. We hated each other. They used to call us the white devil, and they would chant, "Down with American imperialism." And you know what? We didn't call them very nice names either. But in April of 1971, a group of Americans, including young people just a little bit older than yourself, went to China for the first time in 20 years. They went there to play ping pong. Americans and Chinese playing ping pong. The first time that they'd ever engaged with each other in 20 years. In addition to playing ping pong, they talked about their cultures, their music, their religions. They found similarities, and they also saw that there were a lot of differences. They went to the Great Wall of China, and they saw that as well. That ping pong match actually ushered in a new relationship between the United States and China. And it was just months after that that President Nixon went to China. He was the first president to ever go to China, and that was credited partly due to this ping pong match that was attended by many young people like yourself. I want to give you another example on how a young woman, a little younger than yourself, helped transform history between the United States and Russia. It was the 1980s. There was a Cold War. A Cold War basically means we were threatening each other. We were threatening each other with nuclear weapons, and we said we basically annihilate each other. There was a young girl. Her name was Samantha Smith. She was in Maine, and she was concerned about this. So she wrote the leader of Russia. She wrote him a letter and said, "Do you intend to destroy the United States?" She sent it off. I don't think anybody expected that she would get a response, but she did. And the president of Russia, or the leader of Russia at the time, wrote to Samantha and said, "You know what? I don't intend to have a war with the United States." And actually young children, your same age, here in Russia that had the same concerns that you do about the United States. And he went on to invite Samantha and her family to Russia. And Samantha and her family, they took up that invitation and they went to Russia. And they visited with other Russian kids. And just like those young people in China, they found these similarities. And they found the music that they liked, and they learned new dance moves, and they shared each other's cultures. And there were also differences, but they found respect for those. Tragically, Samantha, she died in an airplane crash. But the former president of Russia, Mikhail Gorbachev, and President Reagan both pointed to her as a young person who helped usher in peace between the United States and Russia. So I ask you, what are some of the greatest conflicts between the United States and the rest of the world where we could be using international exchanges to break down misunderstandings and promote peace? But before you answer that, I hope you'll think about that for a minute. I want to tell you about an organization that I co-founded, and it's called Global Nomads Group. And essentially, we do modern-day exchanges. We leverage technology. We use video conferencing and online platforms to get young people around the world to communicate and collaborate. We've worked in over 50 countries and on all 7 continents. Some of our programs, we've connected schools in Pakistan with schools in the United States. We connected students in Rwanda with students in the United States. And we know that it works. I remember one young man who participated in our Rwanda program. He came up to me, he said, "You know what? I didn't even know that Rwanda existed. And I certainly didn't know that there was a genocide there that killed 1 million people." But he said, through this program, I met other Rwandese, and I know that I exist, and I realize that I'm a part of the world and that I have a voice as a young person. So I ask you, going back to my question, where do you think we can be using cross-cultural exchanges to break down misunderstandings and build peace between countries or cultures? Any ideas? Go ahead. Any specific countries? Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, we said Cuba too. Definitely.
Cuba, all right. Anywhere else? Palestine, all right. North Korea. I think you're so right. I think we can do that. But I want to pick up on Palestine. I want to talk about countries in the Middle East, for those who mentioned there. I think we have a historical opportunity, just like Samantha Smith, and just like those kids who went to China, to use cultural exchanges to break down misunderstandings between young people in the United States and young people in the Middle East, and enter into a new type of world. So let me ask you, what do you know about the Middle East? Raise of hands of how many people who have been to the Middle East. Great. Where have you been? Jordan. All right. Anybody else been to the Middle East? Where have you been? Dubai. Great. When I say the Middle East, what do you guys think of? Saudi Arabia. What do you think about the people there? What are the messages that you hear in media? Terrorists, beards, oil. Anything else? What's that? Muslims? ISIS? Turbans? So that's what we think about the Middle East. Go ahead. Struggle. The desert. Inequality. So I've heard terrorism, Muslim, turban, desert. I've heard a lot of worse things as well. And I imagine you have as well too. Similarly, on just how we spoke about the Chinese and Russians. When I heard that I was going to be a part of this challenge, I was actually in the Middle East. I was in Jordan. So what I decided to do was get a group of young people, your same age, sit them down, and ask them, what do they know about the United States? What do they know about kids in Washington, D.C.? So I know we have not the greatest, we have beautiful light, but not the best light for watching a video. But I want you to watch this video of what they think about you. And if you can't watch it, listen to it. Can we roll that clip?
So we're here in Amman, Jordan, and we're meeting with kids to talk about what they know about the United States, and specifically what they know about kids in Washington, D.C. So how many of you have been to the United States? Raise your hands. So how many people like The Simpsons? Raise your hand. Raise your hands, how many people have been to Washington, D.C.? How many people have heard of Washington, D.C.? When I say Washington, D.C., describe to me what you think about.
My name is Hiba, and I want to describe the Washington. Washington is a very amazing town in the world.
My name is Khalid. I know about the Washington D.C., the White House in there.
Okay.
Yes, and the democracy in there.
I watched on YouTube a couple of videos that they treat the Muslims people there like they are tourists. Then where the women wear hijab there, they're like attacked her. They don't serve her when she go to a restaurant or something. They don't serve her. Don't give her what she wants. So I want to think why they do this.
How does that make you feel?
Horrible.
Why?
I'm Muslim. I don't like to see Muslim people treated like this.
I don't think everyone in America think we are bad. Maybe he would like to say we have to share our Islamic education. We have to share everything about our Islam. We are not bad people. I am a human like you. So I have human rights. You can't tell me I can't do this because I'm Muslim. I can't do this because I'm Muslim. No, it's okay. I'm Muslim. You are maybe not Muslim. Same thing. We have to be like brother and sister in our cities or in our world. I don't know what, but so what? We are wear hijab. So what?
Would you be interested in meeting kids in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah? Why?
I want to travel there to let them know about our culture in Jordan.
What do you want them to know?
About our traditional, like she said, and about what we do in Jordan.
I would like to ask kids in Washington, D.C. about their school, how they live, holidays, maybe Christmas, about like this.
I would like to know about their culture more than what I see in the social media and the news and the television.
So you're the future, right?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Responsibility. Because our country depends on us. Because we have to make our country better and stronger.
Hard. If I want the future to be good and better, up of now, I have to be perfect now. And it's hard to me to be perfect in this world because there are wars.
So do you think it's important that you communicate?
I would like to say after 3 years we will go to college and we have to improve our communicate to be better there. And there is a lot of people from Indian, from Egyptian people. There is a lot of people. We have to communicate with them. So it's too important, I think.
So what about singers? Do you have any favorite musicians?
One Direction.
One Direction. You like One Direction?
I hate that song.
Who do you like?
Hip hop. the musician.
Like who?
Eminem.
You like Eminem?
Snoop Dogg.
Selena Gomez, Taylor Swift, Demi Lovato, Justin Bieber.
I hate One Direction. I really agree with him.
Well, whoever. You don't like One Direction. I don't like One Direction. We're friends, you know. Like we find things that you find that are in common, and with that, you're able to build friendship, right? And I also believe that if we hung out and we played sports, whatever, or watched movies, and we became friends, you know what? I'm probably not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Islam Ramli. Good luck in your Aspen challenge.
So, that's what young people your same age think about you in Washington, D.C. Maybe some of it's true, maybe it's not. But my challenge to you is to design a new way, leveraging technology, to connect with kids in the Middle East, to have meaningful exchanges. What you design, your platform, whatever that would be, it needs to be scalable. And it needs to be sustainable. And it needs to convince your community, your parents, your fellow students, your administrators, that it is critical that everybody has a meaningful cross-cultural exchange during their education. So, any questions? We got one over here as well.
How would we potentially collaborate with the governments of those Middle Eastern countries that may not be or may not like the idea of exchange between us and them?
That's a great question. I don't think that should be a barrier for you. You know, I mean, young people have found ways around things that governments didn't like time and time again, you know. The governments of Egypt probably didn't like Twitter, and a revolution happened there. You know, people look at Facebook and have challenged, and, you know, have questioned that as well. But I wouldn't really let that be a barrier. I would figure out what's the best way for you to communicate with young people on the other side, and don't be limited, and then it'll happen. You're creative, you're young people, you'll make it happen. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Next over here.
Okay, my name is Sierra, and at my school, we got a TOK class, and we did, I think it was Skype with, it wasn't a class, it was like 3 men and 1 Muslim lady from another, I think it was probably Iraq, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, but through your program, is there a way that the youth can interact with other children from all over? Like,
sure. Yeah. I mean, through our program, you can connect with anywhere. I mean, we go to some of the most crazy places in the world that you don't communicate. But the fact of the matter is we only reach 3,000 kids a year. You know, there are millions of kids in the United States. There are millions of kids that need to have a meaningful cross-cultural exchange. So you could you could certainly do ours, but I think this is an opportunity for you to rethink what we're doing and come up with new ways that all of you can be participating in this type of program.
So I know you said it's important to have like international traveling and for us now, so we can work in a work field later as exchanging ideas between different countries. So do you have people that work for you? Do you ever like run into like the language barrier problem where you're not able to really connect with other children because of them won't speak the same language as you are? Do you hire people to be kind of a barrier in between that so that you guys can understand each other?
Yeah. So what we do with that right now is, so I'll give you an example. We connect schools in Afghanistan with schools in the United States. And that is actually done in translation. So we have a translator in the room who's actually doing a real live translation so that everybody could be heard and understood. And it's not, it takes you a little effort. It's not like speaking the same language, but it's really an important conversation. Because, these young people, they live in Afghanistan. They've been in some form of conflict for the last, how many years? And this is an opportunity for them to be heard and for you to hear from them. So yes, language can be a barrier, but there's ways around it. I think if it's live, there can be a live translator. There's also many online translation tools that can be used if it's typing. And so there are options for that translation. Thanks for that. In the back?
Okay, my name is Lakia Calloway, and I noticed that you talked about the pros of international exchange, but what are the cons?
That's a great question. They told me you were going to ask good questions. The cons. I think as the world becomes more global, sometimes people lose their culture, It becomes a little bit all the same. So I know in countries that I've been to, they look towards the United States and they're like, oh, I want McDonald's or I want Nikes, I want all of these American items and brands. But you know what? They have such amazing food and their own culture, but they want kind of what others have. So I do think that is perhaps a challenge, but at the same time, what I've also seen is when young Americans meet somebody from Afghanistan, for example, and they see an amazing dress or hear some music, they actually say, that's pretty cool and that's pretty amazing. And to kind of be an Afghan and hear your fellow American validate you and say that's really cool, I think gives them a lot of pride in their culture that they might not have seen in the past. Yeah.
Hey, it's Day Quentin again. I just wanted to know how is this different from other programs such as Pet Pals?
Yeah.
So
I think it's different. We for Global Nomads Group, we do a lot of online video conferencing. Pen Pals would be more asynchronous. So it's certainly very similar. At the end, there's such a huge gap. There's so much need for this. So if it's Pen Pals, as if it's what Global Nomads Group is doing, if it's what Physical Exchange is doing, there's still not enough being done. Mike?
In the United States, youth have a voice in the government, or we have a say, and here we can be able to communicate with the third world countries or other countries that want the American culture or to experience what we have here. However, how are they able to communicate with us? For example, the government here, there's freedom here. We can use technologies to communicate with them. However, how are they, or like these kids I just saw, how are they able to communicate or reach me or reach these youth in the United States?
Mm-hmm. It's a great question, and I think that would be a great challenge. I could give you maybe a direction, something that's interesting. How many people have smartphones on their tables? You don't have one well, maybe somebody has one at home or something like that. I'll tell you, every one of those kids, they had a smartphone. Yeah? Or where are the mics? Sorry.
My name is Anna. Question is for students like us in Czech, which is a multicultural school, which would you best advise about communication with other students around the world?
What would be my advice for you to communicate with other? I think maybe find out where you think it could be best used. Identify who would you like to connect with. And then identify technologies that you have in your classrooms, in your home, what's accessible. And then research what's accessible to those kids that you want to connect to. And yeah, not going to be able to connect to every country. North Korea, you're probably not going to connect to. Cuba right now, probably not. Venezuela, no. But you know what? There are so many other countries in the world, throughout the Middle East, Afghanistan, Pakistan, East Africa. There are so many countries that you can find what is a country that you would like to connect with, and then from there, identify what type of technology they have, you know, and then find some matches and design a program based off of that. Yeah.
Oh, I got a question. It's direct for your program. How, like, what can a school do in order to qualify for your program?
Yeah.
Like, not talking about the challenge,
Yeah.
but has a school,
Sure.
like, trying to communicate with other, like another country school.
Right.
Like, what can we do?
Right.
Yeah, that's my question.
How do you participate? Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
like, okay, you expose the people that were talking in a Skype call and stuff like that, right? So if we wanted to do that in my school, what can we do? Like, how
do you
can
do
we
it?
get in touch
Sure.
with them?
Sure. So, I mean, you sign up at our website, and then every fall we offer our programming, and then we link you to a school in the country that we decide, Afghanistan, Pakistan. We give your educators professional development and curriculums, and then they work with you. And then every few weeks, you guys connect on via video conferencing and talk about different issues. So you could talk about conflict transformation, you know, the role of media and how it portrays each other's culture or country. What does leadership look like? And I mean, it's possible, you know? Like, if we want to do this, we can. You know, it's just if we want to. I mean, we work in Afghanistan. We have schools in Afghanistan. And these is particularly a lot of young women who participate in our program. And they basically, you know, they make the effort from going from their schools to an internet cafe, essentially, to connect with schools in the United States. And they have to be back before it's dark. So they take a risk. They're hungry to talk to you. I think you saw it in this video. These kids, they want to talk to you. Do you want to talk to them? And if you do, you should take this challenge and figure out a great way to leverage technology to do that. Thank you so much.